The Lifestyle Show, presented by Selena Mackenzie.
So it was Hippocrates that said that all diseases start in the gut, and our first guest agrees with that. Welcome back to the show, nutritionist Karen Jacobson.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. So you say there are just small changes people can make to actually improve their digestion and gut health. What sort of things are they?
Okay, so first of all, sometimes we have to look at what is causing the problems with our gut health. And we don't realize our food industry is letting us down quite a lot. So what is causing our gut health to go off is our diversity of gut bacteria is being diminished by pesticides and preservatives and stabilizers and emulsifiers that are being added to so many foods and drinks. So the first thing to do is look at what we're eating, of course, to try and put in whole foods with natural enzymes and probiotics, so things like live yogurt and kefir and kombucha and some of these fermented products can be really useful. And then there's loads of things. If we take a walk through the digestive system, there's lots of things that we can do at each stage. Shall I walk you through?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so one of the first things is when we eat, we should be our nervous system should be in a rest and digest state. So we should be nice and calm and relaxed. And of course, so many of us are eating on the run. We don't have time. So we're eating on the go. We're not chewing. We're not taking our time to chew. And both of these things have a profound impact. So if we're not in a nice, relaxed state of rest and digest, our digestive system, which produces saliva and enzymes to help us break down the food, doesn't work properly. And so if the digestive system is a production line, if it's not working properly in the mouth, so we're not producing saliva and enzymes, and then we're not even chewing properly, when food goes down to the stomach, it's already, compromised in terms of breaking down quickly for nutrient absorption. So we have to take our time and actually just breathe a little bit. This is where religion sometimes comes into eating, taking a moment to say grace, or if you're not religious, taking a moment to connect with your food and say, this is going to be a very nutritious meal for me, gratitude for where it comes from. All these little things matter. Does that sound a bit crazy?
Not at all. I just think it's so difficult. I mean, I know personally that I don't chew my food anywhere near enough. And I know that I think I live my whole life rushing. I'm always rushing. My mum always says we live at everything we do is at breakneck speed. You know what I mean? And I think it's difficult, especially when you are really busy, to think, right, I'm going to stop. I'm going to take, like the Spanish do, a good half an hour over my food and chew and enjoy. I just think people haven't got the time nowadays.
I know, but it's not a question of time. It's a question of importance.
Yes.
Because realize something is important, it gets done. I have times where if I am stressed and rushing, I will choose not to eat rather than to just shove something in because I know my system won't digest it well. And if your body, again, this is linked to stress and inflammation, which are the two biggest underlying health issues that are causing all kinds of chronic disease and illness in people, is, again, your nervous system is broken into two. It can either be in rest and digest, or it's in fight and flight. And when we're working, we're in fight and flight. If we are eating when we're in this condition, as I've said before, food doesn't break down properly. So if you're presenting symptoms like bloating, like a lack of energy, like nutrient and vitamin deficiencies despite eating healthy foods, there's a good chance is your nervous system is causing your digestive system to not work properly. And this is where we all have to take our time to know to have tools like breath work to calm the nervous system down before you eat, so that your body can go into that place so that you can break down foods. And sometimes it's as simple as that. If your nervous system is in fight or flight, it inhibits saliva. It inhibits your stomach acidity and your digestive enzymes. It inhibits the peristalsis of your digestive system. It inhibits the production of goodies from your gallbladder. So there's such a profound impact. We have it's this gut-brain connection that we have to link together. We have this main nerve called the vagus nerve that runs from your brain to your gut, but it has all of these other nerve endings that are controlling your liver, your stomach, your pancreas, your digestive system. And if you're in fight and flight, the nervous system stops these things from working because it thinks, I'm running from a lion. I don't have the energy or the time to do this right now. So what happens is your food, your healthy food that you've eaten, remains undigested, remains in your stomach in bigger chunks. Then the bacteria overgrow in the gut and have a big fat party on your fillet steak or caviar. And you end up with a stomach protruding and wondering why you're tired and hungry and getting fat, basically, and inflamed.
I mean, I totally agree with you because I know I suffer for it. So I know you're right. And it's interesting because I keep hearing about this vagus nerves. That's the connection, is it? The vagus nerves.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is where, as a holistic nutritionist, you can't just look at one dynamic, which is the food. You've got the food, then you've got your basic biology of how you're physically able to control energy and nutrient absorption in your body. But then you also have this emotional energy. So this is our sense of feeling. And this is when, if you are experiencing, and we all do, this is the biggest problem. If you're experiencing emotions, guilt, fear, stress, you name it, this raises your cortisol, which is your emotional hormone. They call it the stress hormone. I call it the emotional hormone. But when cortisol is raised, because it is a stress response, it affects your nervous system. And this is where the whole emotional eating comes in. We have to learn to regulate all of the systems in our body. We have to learn to regulate the nervous system, and we can do this by connecting to our breath so that we're calm. We also have to learn how to regulate our emotional system and learn how to regulate this hormone cortisol so that we can have it working for us and not against us. Does that make sense?
It does indeed. I'm just looking to the left, Karen, because we've had a lady that's WhatsApped in. Let me just have a look. She says, very interesting chat with your nutritionist, Selena. Thank you. I have just been told I have inflammation of the gut from my gastroenterologist, and could that be from the way I eat food? I know that I don't eat correctly. And is there anything I can do?
Yes. So again, what I do with people is before we can deal with issues in the small intestine and the large intestine, I always start from the top down because it's a production line. If you're backed up at the back end, let's start with what you're doing at the front end. So we start with chewing and being calm. There are things that you can do, introducing something like apple cider vinegar, a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in some water before you eat can be really helpful in terms of making sure that that stomach is nice and acidic and ready to receive food. You can also supplement by taking some digestive enzymes. I have some very good digestive enzymes, but you can get them from other health shops as well to give your system a boost, because if you have been stressed or if you've been taking medication, there's all kinds of reasons why your microbes, so this is all our bacteria and our enzymes and viruses and molds that we have, can be diminished, again, from medications and pesticides. So we need to help the body do its job. So taking things like a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar and some water and maybe some digestive enzymes before you eat can be really, really helpful. And then other things are, we have to look at the gut lining. So again, what has happened from medications, from stress, is our gut lining dries up. And so all of the home that we have for our microbiome diminishes as well. So things to nourish the gut is things like one of the healthiest things we can take is bone broth. It's full of gelatin and collagen and nutrients, which really helps seal and heal our gut lining. The main ingredient for our gut lining that is really helpful is something called L-glutamine, and that's a supplement you can buy, but also we're going to get this from things like bone broth. So all of these things I would consider before taking probiotics. So I think a lot of people just assume if there's something wrong with their tummy, take a bunch of probiotics. But actually, it's not the first move, because if you have what they call a leaky gut, which is holes in your gut from a dried up lining and from foods that have ripped away holes in your lining, and you take probiotics, they can escape into your blood and actually cause, more of a histamine and more reactions, and they can do more harm than good sometimes.
Right. Okay. What would an example of a digestive enzyme be that she could take?
So there's three main digestive enzymes. There's something called amylase, which helps break down carbohydrates. There's something called protease, which helps break down proteins. Lipase, which helps break down fats. Lactase, which helps break down lactose. There's all kinds of enzymes. There's a specific enzyme for each kind of different food group. Generally speaking, if you're going to a health shop to buy digestive enzymes, they'll have a combination of all of those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, hopefully that helps, Sue. I really hope that helps you. Apple cider vinegar. We're hearing a lot about that at the moment as well. It's a bit like a buzzword. How does that help? Because it sounds like it's going to be acidic. It sounds like it's not going to help at all.
I know. And this is what's so interesting. People think that if they have reflux or acid reflux, that they've got too much acid in their stomach. And actually, the opposite is true. The reason why you might have acid reflux is because your stomach acid is low. And so your stomach doesn't have the capacity to annihilate that food into liquid and pass it through to the small intestine. So all of these things, apple cider vinegar, actually alkaline and neutralize your stomach and help. And apple cider vinegar, there's someone she calls herself the Glucose Goddess on Instagram. She's written a book called The Glucose Revolution, and she's helping millions of people manage their blood sugar better by using apple cider vinegar before you eat. So it does kind of two functions. It helps with the neutralizing the stomach and getting it in the right environment to digest food. But the type of acid in apple cider vinegar also slows down the release of sugar into your bloodstream. So it can cause a reduction in what they call, blood sugar spikes, and also something called oxidative stress, which is the first step of inflammation. Is that gobbledygook, or does that make sense?
No, it makes lots of sense. And can a poor digestive system, did you say that can affect your sleep as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is the thing to go into a good night's sleep. We need to be fed and fueled and ready for sleep. We also need to have those lovely hormones in balance. So again, we make hormones from the foods that we eat. So, people who can't sleep, for example, probably have cortisol levels. This is our stress hormone or our emotional hormone too high. So we need cortisol to come down at the end of the day to bring melatonin, our sleep hormone, up. So they are in balance. If we're struggling to sleep, it can be either a hormonal dysregulation and foods that cause cortisol to go up, of course, is all the good stuff, alcohol, sugar, caffeine,
Yes,
these
some
main cortisol. So, all of these things that are causing a stress response in the digestive system, as well as the hormonal balance, will interfere with our sleep.
Well, it's all very, very fascinating stuff. If people want to get in touch with you, I know you're based in Gibraltar, Karen, but what's the best way? Or do you have a website or social media?
I do. My website is nutritionbykaren.com. Social media is Nutrition by Karen, and that is on Facebook and Instagram. I'm very active on Instagram, so that's the main place to find me ranting and raving about our food system and how it's messing us all up. And, I'm very passionate. It's not people's fault. We're just not given the right information.
Yeah, I totally agree. We're learning more and more as time goes by, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Well,
one by one.
We will no doubt speak again in a few months' time. But for today's show, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Karen. Bye-bye.
Bye.